Like as a racing purist, yeah, I would I prefer an F1 selfishly without sprints? Yes, I like Friday practice and all that, but that's not going to happen. So I'm not even going to bother. Like we have to try and make the best of it because commercially, that's what they're going to do. Yeah. So how do you make it feel more distinct?
I find it interesting that like other series have kind of just nabbed that idea and gone, fuck it, we'll do that as well.
Sprints.
MotoGP do it as well.
They
I think they do it every weekend.
Yeah, it's compulsory, yeah.
It feels like, to Tommo's point, it does feel like, particularly this weekend, felt like a bloody interruption. Like they're not normally the like race weekend builds to this like you got you
want a bit of a spoiler as well.
Yeah, true also, but it builds to this crescendo and then you get the outcome of the race right. And then in the middle of it, you've just got this bloody inconvenient. I'm just like, mate, just get me the. I just want to watch the race. I've seen qualifying, and maybe that's me being a greybeard and not being very not leaning into the change, right?
Well, there's also a dangerous sprint races that we've seen 2 teams this weekend come with major upgrades, and they've just not got on top of them because they only had 1 free practice. It was Aston and Haas. You know, all 4 of their cars started in the pit lane because they were just like, yeah, we can't do it. So they took the pain. Aston actually did pretty well today, given the circumstances. But it just means that you got teams that could be potentially disadvantaged for the entire weekend, particularly Aston, who had no running in free practice. So they were completely disadvantaged from the start of the weekend, using a new part that they had no idea how to use. And then they've only got 1 practice session to run it, and then they're under Parc ferme, which compromised them massively for the sprint yesterday as well.
My one point to that, McLaren bought their first big upgrade in Austria at sprint weekend with Lando Norris.
It can work, yeah, of course. I mean, Mercedes this weekend as well.
And obviously Lance didn't get running because they had a brake issue.
Yeah.
Fernando had a similar brake issue. I don't know. I think that I don't see sprints. Well, maybe they will take over and be. And you know, I think sprints give more value, more of a value product proposition to the fans. Like, I mean, when I went to Austria, I went on the Friday, saw some qualifying, went on the Saturday, saw a race, came back here, did the last lap from here. I didn't feel like I missed it because I saw a race in person. It was a really good race as well. In the rain when Max squeezed, Checo squeezed Max and then Max squeezed Checo back into turn 3. And it was like,
that was a good sprint.
That was and I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like there are clear positives. Like I think it gives more value for money to the people who are there.
Yeah,
it gets more overall eyeballs, and unfortunately, like people will miss out because they work on Fridays, and I understand that you're going to miss out on qualifying. But F1's going to chase that overall numbers, and it's just like I just want to make it as good as it can be because it's not going anywhere.
I think that I think there's been enough weekends where rather than being an interruption, which it definitely was this week, it was a bit sort of like, because I was quite busy this weekend as well, I was like, fucking hell, there's a race going on. But I think there's been enough examples in the sprint's history, like Brazil last year, Austria this year, Qatar this year as well, where it's genuinely like added something to the weekend, where we can go, okay, you know what, actually, that it made sense. It was worthwhile it being.
All right, so how do we fix it? So reverse grids, that's one. What else?
Track selection. Like, you got to get the right tracks. Like Austria, great. Brazil, great. Qatar, okay, we can keep going there. Baku, why did we do a sprint there? Like, that was just...
What makes a good sprint track, do you think?
Very good bloody question.
Yeah. I mean,
first of all, overtaking opportunities.
Overtaking opportunities is massive.
The clearest thing in terms of like, it can't be a track where you're going to run behind
Monaco
14 laps. You only got 15.
Yeah.
Monaco sprint.
Yeah, Monaco sprint would be a disaster.
Well, the worst. I think they just boycott, to be honest.
I also think the short, some of those where you got quicker lap times as well. Austria and Brazil, case in point, you got these shorter tracks where you can maybe do a slightly longer race because you're running to a set distance. So it gives the drivers just a bit more time just to try and plan their moves more effectively.
You know what's good as well is there's that nice little crossover in terms of like what tyre to use as well. There's a couple, like a few people, obviously science doing softs this weekend made no sense. But where you've got like a little bit of and I suppose that's probably kind of the decision there is almost how many laps the sprint needs to be as well, rather than just what the track is. But
that's a good
when there's
point,
a bit of a crossover, it's pretty good.
It's
you have soft runners starting quick and then coming back down to fuel.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's variables that breathe life to jeopardy, right? So even like when bloody last race that there was all that stuff around the tyres blowing up and whatever. People were tuning in because they were like, well, Well, it was bonkers, and it absolutely brings the sport into disrepute. But there's a morbid reality that makes people tune in. They want to see.
We love the disrepute.
Is this 2005 Indianapolis? I'm going to watch this because I want to see how they're going to fix it. There's drams in there. So I just, to your question, Tom, I think variables, tracks that they've taken off Silverstone, which one of those tracks on the calendar currently speaks better to sprint format than bloody Silverstone?
Classic.
Nice and wide. No longer is are the cars too big and bloody cumbersome to overtake. Put Silverstone on there. And I think, like, have a look at the Parc Ferme rules. I don't hate Parc Ferme because I think a team like Red Bull, as an example, benefit massively from the pre-practice 1, 2 and 3 to set up their diva characteristic. I think certain quads require a bit of setup time, but maybe sack off Parc
Surely
Ferme.
loosening Parc Ferme after the sprint at least gives you a chance to see something different.
Yeah.
Because you know the cars that are going into that sprint are identical pretty much, apart from a bit of front rear wing maybe, to the cars that are going into the
I think that's the right call, yeah, because then you don't have 4 cars starting in the pit lane, and it means that people can tinker things and get the car to where they want it to
You might
be.
just get a slightly different, say maybe instead of the Haas being quicker than the AlphaTauri, it's the other way around.
I've got something.
Go on.
Let's go.
I want ideas. I don't just want complaining. I want ideas.
Sprinklers on the
I've got
track.
something.
Go on.
You spoke earlier about actually, no, you didn't speak earlier. I saw a tweet about it, and you said like mandating a 1-stop, right?
I asked the question, yeah.
Whether that could be something
Such a good idea as well.
which I think it would.
Yeah,
We could mandate pit stops, or we could mandate rain. Let's just go into places where it rains all the time, bro.
Mandate rain.
None of this.
You called it.
No, I'm not having a sprint in Saudi Arabia. There's no chance.
Called
rain,
it.
bro.
Sprinklers.
Only
All right, Bernie.
sprints where there's a 75% chance. We'll just check the weather forecast beforehand. And if there's going to be a lot of a chance of rain, then we'll go, okay, right, we'll do a sprint there.
Yeah. Like I'm right. So I put that out, right? I was like, mandating a 1-stop, right? And people were like, oh,
Stop every lap.
But
Let's just
it
go all the way.
won't feel different. But like, it doesn't feel different anyway. Like it just feels like they're just doing the first stint of a race, and then they're just packing it in. Like just mandate, because at least it gives the chance to someone to fuck up a pit stop or to do a really good pit stop and jump someone in the pits or something. I don't know. And maybe obviously then you're looking at tyre allocation and maybe.
Problem with that, brother, is that then it's long then. Because you need to do 2 stints. It doesn't...
How much longer is it? It adds 20 seconds. And then also you're going quicker on the second stint.
That's the second stint, and that's long. That doesn't then fit this is meant to be sprint race is meant to be a condensed format.
Yeah.
Like a...
all right, mandate 2 stops for the race and 1 stop for the sprint. Bosh, done, sorted. And one shot for qualifying. Make it different. Make it feel different.
Quality would be sick.
The only reason, right, it was very easy to well, no, even today, I was like, well, hang on, who was on pole? Oh, no, it was Charles, wasn't it? Because I couldn't even remember who was second because Max put it on pole and it's exactly the same fucking thing. Like, it's a little bit shorter, but like barely. It doesn't make it feel different.
Yeah, sprint qualifying being the exact same as normal qualifying, but just a bit shorter is my least favourite thing about all of it.
Yeah.
Because literally you forget the order. It's like I can't actually, like if I get to like, I suppose... If it gets like a Saturday afternoon, I'm ready to watch the sprint or whatever. I don't even know what the fucking order was because we've already had 2 qualifying sessions already, and I can't remember who's where.
Conflating issues. Oh, I want to argue against chaps, but you lot are just slandering the sprint qualifiers, the sprint format too hard.
Fundamentally, I don't have an issue.
Le Mans start.
What do you mean, Ty?
No, I don't. But this is not the format for it.
Le Mans start.
Lewis, play back
They have to run to the car at the start of the race.
Sprint to the car.
They have to run to the car at the start of the race. All Le Mans.
Yeah, well, they said you got to be able to get out in 7 seconds. So
get in 7 seconds as well.
Boys are chaos merchants.
Look, sprints aren't going anywhere, so there's no point complaining, being like, get rid of the sprints. It's not going to achieve anything. We need to try and make it as good as it can be. Yeah. And I think, we've seen good sprints and hopefully as the sport condenses. Go on, Cam, I'll let you have the last word.
I think we're starting to sound like Drive to Survivors, chaps, that we want action and blood and guts every single sprint race. And it's just the nature of F1 is that you're going to get seasonal variances there. as you will with the actual race, just the same way with the sprints, you'll have fantastic ones that are incredible. Max Verstappen coming from the back, working his way through the pack, blood and guts, lots of overtaking, but then you're going to have stinkers like we did this weekend. And in the words of Karan Chandok, if you don't like it, go and watch another sport. Don't do that. Please don't
actually do that.
That's outrageous of him to say that, or people.
Yeah.